I'll turn it over to the report of the president.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, good evening, and I'll start with the fall enrollment, which has been trending downward. However, actually lately, not as downward as we were. So as of today, well, in fact, we started this semester 3.3% down on Monday. We're now down to overall 2.9% down. So we'll probably keep going down in terms of closer to a positive number. So instead of being down like 5% or 3%, we'll probably go down to 2 or 3, right around there, and then drift up a little bit. So we kind of talked to you earlier about being concerned when we were up in the 8 to 11 range, and the numbers have come down. Amongst our peers, the best number we've heard is College of DuPage, which was 2.2% down. Joliet's down 3.6%, and Harper College is down 6.7%. So most of the institutions are down. Triton College, I understand, is also down, although I've been informed the business division is up.
7%.
7%.
The institution?
No,
The
county and
institution.
business department.
Where's the institution?
About negative 2.3.
I think fudge those
Okay.
numbers.
I do.
All right, we're
Just
moving
kidding.
on. Wanted to alert you too that we have another vendor fair coming where purchase contracts will hold its 4th vendor fair on this Thursday. The email blast was sent to approximately 600 businesses. Additionally, we made contracts with the Chamber of Commerce, with several agreeing to upload our flyer to their website. We've also contacted the community churches that have been asked for inclusion in their bulletins and posting on the church bulletin boards. So the fair is this Thursday, as I said, August 27th, from 9 to 11 in room C005. Okay? I mentioned to you in the update that I met with our graduation speaker, Jim Ryan, the chairman and chief executive officer of W.W. Granger, to sort of brief him for the graduation. And I thought it was great that he wanted to prepare a different message for each of our graduating groups, for the transfer students, the career students. Also I gave him a number of options of what he could do in between that time for lunch, and he chose to, he said, I'd like to meet the students who have received some of our scholarships, the Tools for Tomorrow scholarships. So we're going to, Dr. Haney's going to work with Karen Lavin and others in the foundation office, see if we can bring that together. And then one of the things we're working on is supply chain and logistics program, and that's a big part of the Granger business. So I mentioned that to him, and he said, we'd like to help you with that. So he said, well, I'll get some of my folks, and we'll see what we can do in helping you work together. Some of you may remember that for gratis, for free, they actually did the strategic plan for our foundation. So Granger did that, and our foundation staff met there, and they facilitated that whole process. So I also, on the way out, was just talking to him about some of our buildings, and since he had asked how much funding we had for buildings, etc. And I mentioned also that we were trying to do a new science building that was LEED Platinum, to which he sort of stopped in his tracks and said, well, that sustainability is just really important to us, and they have their building there is LEED Gold, actually, their headquarters, actually, which is a huge building. And he said, you know, we just have the first LEED certified data center in the country, the top one right here. And they said, well, we'd like to get our students out there. He said, yeah, we'd like to do that. So I just think there's a lot of, we've started this partnership with Granger, and I just think it's got a lot of ways we can grow, and a lot of places we can go. He himself talked about entrepreneurialism and said he'd like to know about our program. He wants to come out here in the spring, meet some of our faculty and students also. And then we're going to be sending him information and moving along with it. So I told him that we want this relationship with Granger to be a model for partnerships with community colleges. And it can be a good place for us to build other partnerships like this, which we're starting to. So So good.
Let me just
Yep.
throw out a word of caution, or at least keep it on our radar screen, because I think Granger would be a wonderful partner with us in all this, but they're also one of our vendors, of which we spend tens of thousands of dollars a year with them. So I think we just need to be cognizant that there's no misinterpretation of our relationship with them.
No, that's a really good point, and I will tell you this, they are very cognizant too, because we talked with them, for instance, about working on grants, and they said, well, we have to have kind of a firewall with that. So they're aware of that. And now, that being said, corporations today are all about strategic philanthropy, right? So they're very interested in what they do and what appears in the press in terms of their philanthropy helps their business model. But yeah, it is a good note of caution.
But I mean, you understand that, I understand that, but the general public at large
Sure.
seems to not understand that. I mean, we've seen articles in the newspaper about arrangements between different corporations and foundation board members and board of trustee members that, you know, when it's painted with one brush, it looks terrible, but the reality is, it's, you know, the firewall is put up in place and it's perfectly legit. So we have to be very careful about that.
Yeah, I will say, when I was at the summer retreat for the AACC board there was a lot of talk about corporate partnerships. I mean, it's just a big interest across the country, and a lot of examples. You do have to be cautious about it because, as I said, they have a strategic view of philanthropy that could be very tricky. But yeah, but nonetheless, these kind of partnerships can lead to jobs for our students and opportunities they could never have, really, without that. So. Well, and speaking of partnerships, Acon Semiconductor. So Rich and I have had some meetings. Rich has had bringing some of his staff together to talk about how we might work with Acon Semiconductor. They're now getting more serious in these meetings. So last two meetings we had brought David in too, because they're talking about wanting us to perhaps have some space at their Gurney location. So we've been looking at that and talking to them about what we think might be a reasonable approach to that. So at the planning retreat, I've got kind of a section where we could talk about some big ideas and that. And so we'll talk to you a little bit about some ideas there. But they're even looking at getting started in October with some kind of an arrangement. So they're used to it. They're a startup. They're used to going at startup speed, right? And in fact, I guess when we were talking to him last, he was leaving for, I forgot where, but one of the places was the Middle East, where they had some investors, and then they were going to another location to get other investors for this. So they already have, they have two buildings. One building is going to house a government project that they have. It's going to be self-contained with high security. And then the other is the one where they're interested in us joining in. They already have a data center as a partner. They would have the semiconductors. So I'll kind of, at the meeting there, kind of show you a map of where we're talking about, what the conditions are. But it could be a huge opportunity for us to get into a high-tech industry and have our students have some opportunities. So we'll talk about it too. And then last, I think, is I wanted to talk to you just for a minute about iGen. Now, I do think you have at your places this iGen Career Pathways handout, okay? And in it, you have just a very small piece of the very much larger report, which I will email to you, because, you know, if you have a whole project that's about sustainability, you probably don't want to cut down a bunch of trees just to show you that. So I will send you the PDF of this, the larger report, which is, you know, what, 100 pages or something.
Could you just put it on the portal?
Yeah, I can do that, sure. We'll do both. We'll email it and put it on the portal. But yeah, we do want to just get to the portal for everything. Good comment. So what you're looking at here is just CLC's piece of the work. The work the faculty here did was Sustainable Ag, Stationary Engineering, Energy Audit Program, and the list of all the courses that were developed under the grant. And the reason I have all the courses is because you can see what CLC did, which is a lot. So we can be proud of our faculty stepped up for that. I also bring that because you have, in the items that you're going to be looking at tonight, there's also a contract for the evaluation group, RTI, and it's an unusual situation in that they go beyond the end of the grant. This is something the Department of Labor does. It seems like, Nick, almost every grant you work with, you finish within the time framework. The DOL, you finish 98% of it in there, but then they want a time frame of up to 90 days in case receipts and other things come in.
That's true.
And so there's a little bit of cost to us on that, but I'll say this, the grant itself has brought us about $660,000 or $636,000 that we used for course development, materials, equipment, faculty development time. And we also were the administrative head, so that was about $2.9 million. Of course, a lot of that is pass-through, although some of it was equipment and other things that we benefited from.
So does that mean the other institutions are not chipping in for this extended time period?
No.
It's just our cost?
That's the responsibility of the fiscal agent. So that $22,000 is our responsibility. In addition, there's another, about an estimated maybe $20,000, because we have to have some staff, part-time, accounting person, whatever, but who can, if receipts come in, they can handle them and work in Nick's office to close out the grant. Okay? So, overall, iGen, the grant, I think I just wanted to show you some of the data. And what I'm going to do is have Stephen Bell from iGen, the executive director, come to either the September or October meeting, depending on what's on the agenda, and just give you a full look at the website and all that's going on with it, kind of an update on iGen.